G'day everyone, how are we going? Now I am now streaming from the new MacBook Pro 14-inch. Now you probably saw that in my previous live stream last week, and I've just been playing with it. I'm just going to give you what I think after spending a week with this MacBook Pro. Now this is the 14-inch with the M1 Max. So it's a pretty decent, powerful lineup, especially in its form. And when I actually did the live stream, just telling all the ports and what I thought was really cool about it, I'm just going to expand on that because now I've actually used this Mac for what I would say about 60% of my workflow for time being, just to give it out. I know I was a Mac person and I've been working on Windows computer for the last two to 3 years now, just because I'm no longer a part of the ecosystem. So I'm using the Mac and I'm going to judge the MacBook as a normal computer without any of the extra bits and pieces like the iPad or the iPhones that the ecosystem does, which is a big advantage of the Apple, is its ecosystem. Now, this is just judging the computer itself. So one of the things I've done is using this computer purely to, like when I did my first live stream, I only just used it very quickly for about 2 hours or so. Now I've actually did my last video, which was the Asus. What was that one there? It was the Asus Vivo Pro 15. I edited that pretty much nearly 95% on this MacBook Pro. Now I am streaming on this MacBook Pro, so I love to hear what your thoughts of the video and audio coming from it. So this is, I've also got a little fan running as well, just to get some air circulation. So it's gonna, I'm thinking it's gonna run in using its noise cancelling as well. Now I'm gonna bring in my other camera, which I normally stream with. So you just got a bit something of a comparison. This is good for Lawrence, one of my members, who was inquiring about that. So I'm just gonna add my other one in. So this is it. And I'm gonna bring in my audio that I normally ring, and I'm gonna mute the other one. So this is the audio that. Oh, I should bring. Sorry, I was just going to mute this MacBook anyway. So this is the audio that comes from this microphone, which is the Rode, and I've muted the MacBook. So this will give you hopefully some ideas. So I'm just going to bring in the MacBook. And so this is now coming, the audio is now coming from this MacBook rather than from the display. So I love to hear, so I'm just going to bring this thing up so you can actually see this. This is the MacBook that's running here. I'm actually just got it on this thing, just so you can see that. So I love to hear what your thoughts are. And I'm going to bring in the audio. I'm going to keep the audio from normal audio because that should be a better audio compared to my MacBook audio. But I love to hear, because I'm going to listen to this right after the stream as well, just hear the difference in how the audio goes. So this is, I'm just going to remove my normal computer. One. And just to make sure we don't have any issues itself that we're not going through. So I should move this one away because we're not using this one anymore. So using this Mac, it has been quite nice. One of the things I like about it, I did forget to talk about this last week, is because this is the silicon, the M1 chip, it is, oh, you can't hear the audio, okay. That's fine. Thank you very much for the audio, for that. That's right. Let me bring in normal computer. This is the Dell webcam that I like to use. So hey, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm not sure because they're both on the same Wi-Fi network. So there is a little lag, and I'm wondering if it's quality difference as well too. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the quality. They're both streaming at 1080p. So I'm going to bring out my Mac. Let me remove the Mac. All right, so that was the Mac there. Anyway, so first off, about this Mac. well, let me just move that away. So the Mac, being an M1 chip, it is an ARM processor. Now, the ARM processor, one good thing about the ARM processor, besides the battery life, and I'm going to go back to the battery life, is the quick wake up on it. So having to pretty much shut this thing and then pretty much open it up, it's pretty instantaneous. That is the beauty of ARM chips. That's something that I remember from the Windows. There was Surface Pro X, which had ARM chip, and of course you got tablets have that instant on. Now that was fantastic. I love that instant on. It's very responsive. Feels like, oh yeah, I didn't have to worry about the sleep modes and stuff. So that it feature in the Mac, that's a big winner. That's for sure for me, who do up and down a lot. So having that quick wake up is extremely nice to see. It makes the computer feel snappy, even though you haven't done any work. But it feels like, oh yeah, it wakes up. It's like just like a mobile phone. It's snappy. So that nice little feature of having that computer instantly come up very quickly is good. Now, the second thing is, of course, the battery life on this. And I'm going to come back to the battery life. So I should come back to the battery life because I should go back to the performance on this computer here anyway. So with your browsing, all that stuff has been fantastic. That doesn't take that much work anyway for most computers. And I do have 32 gigs of RAM into this computer for video editing. So I have a lot of browsers open. So it's able to handle that, no problems at all. Now, with the Macs, they've traditionally, even with back in the old Macs, the Mac OS X system is able to handle memory extremely well, way better than compared to the Windows computers. So you can have a little bit lower spec in the RAM, but if you're doing productivity work, of course, and specialized work, of course, you want more RAM in a way. But you could go with the 8 gigs. Most people, even though I do advise most people to go to 16 gigs, but with the MacBook Pro, 8 gigs can be sufficient for a lot of people. I still prefer 816, just gives you more better for future use for anything else you want to add in. So in terms of memory, Macs have done really well, and that quick wake up helps a lot. Now, with the performance though, with the other stuff where I'm actually using, especially video editing. Now, last week I was only used for about 2 hours of video, and like I said, I edited the whole entire, 95% of the video of the Asus VivoBook Pro on this MacBook, and I was able to do that with not much issues. I only had one issue, and the reason why it was 95% and not 100% was because of one of the plugins I use did not have M1. Well, basically, you find a lot of problems is a lot of them plugins may not have upgraded their software to be compatible with M1, and that's what I found. It just would not work correctly, and so that's why I had to go back to the Windows system. And that's something that you got to think about in your mind if you're going to go back to the M1. Is your software compatible with your pretty much M1? All right, g'day Dylan. That's like currently watching this 8 gig M1 base model. Mini. Okay, that's cool. While I wait for the M1 Studio. Ooh, Studio. I like to have a play with that Studio. That M1 Ultra. I'm not sure. Are you going to get the M1 Ultra version of it or not? Because I know that you can get the non-Ultra. I haven't looked at that, but oh man, that should be really great. How much RAM are you going to get on that one there? But yeah, Mac OS is absolutely fantastic in that. So that's one thing you got to look is your software compatibility. And this was about 2 years ago when I brought out the Silicon M1, and that's throughout the year because I supported them. That was the biggest thing. I could not advise people if your software is not native or has better compatibility with it. Now being about a year and a bit, most software has got M1 compatibility hopefully resolved, but unfortunately a lot of the smaller plugins will not have that. So that's something to check off. So I will still use this computer as one of my main editing, because while I was editing it, and this is one of the things, speed-wise, now I have a RTX 3080 card with the 5950X processor. So that's a really strong computer there by itself to video edit. And this can pretty much, I would say, keep up with it, but I cannot say this could beat it. I was thinking this was from reading a lot of the watching a lot of YouTubes. I was thinking that this may beat it, and when I did the export test, yes, export could beat it, and I'm gonna do a proper video for it. But overall, like when I'm actually editing the computer, and when I was editing last week, I was editing directly on the display on this computer here. But when I chuck this onto my dock and then spit it out to my 34-inch monitor, that's when I started to see this computer struggle a little. I did see quite a bit of lagginess, jerkiness from the M1, from the graphics side of things. And when I'm doing playback, it was a little bit struggling. But what it did very well compared to my RTX 3080 card was the motion graphics. Now I'm going quite deep a little bit more, so I shouldn't really go too bit, but I'm just going to tell you, was the motion graphics. The Mac handled motion graphics way better than the RTX 3080 card. I don't know why, it just did. And I still have things running in my background in the RTX 3080 card while I'm video editing, and I was able to handle this. Not so much. This is pretty much very single task on that. Pretty much on what I was using at Premiere. Now I've been watching over with the Final Cut. For people who's trying to move between, Final Cut is amazing on this computer, and but no, I'm going to keep with Premiere because quite simply, Premiere allows me to move between different platforms, whereas Final Cut Pro, which means I am stuck on an Apple system. I don't want to be stuck on an Apple system because I don't want them to make a bad Mac again. It's quite simple as that, and I don't want to change my workflow pretty much for it. So yeah, anyway, let me have a look at this one I've got here. How much more expensive is this from modern day Windows competitors? Okay, so this one here, I think it ended up costing me 4,300 or 4,400 for this spec. Now, this was the M1 Max with the 32 gigs and just 1 TB. So that is a decent price for this computer here. Like I said last week, I think that was about a good price for its performance. I think with a Windows computer, you probably can choose it's going to be a very similar price, but if you're going to put a 3080 card, you're going to go up to about the 5,000 to 6,000 mark, and if you're going the i9 or something like that, so you're getting a little bit higher. So I think this price is a really good deal for a lot of computers. But what's going to be a winner for this computer here, and this is the biggest thing about it, is the battery life. Now, I know everyone talks about the battery life, doing normal tasks, that's fantastic. But when I'm editing on this computer, because I've been using this computer mostly pretty much 80% on battery. I have not even been connected to the computer most of the time, unless I'm actually using the 34-inch monitor. That's pretty much it. But I've found this computer, even while I'm editing the computer, I can quite happily fully edit a whole project, which takes me nearly about 9 to 10 hours. And I'm able to do that on a single battery and still have more for it. So that's something you could not do with a Windows computer. Most 3080 cards or 3060 or 30 or RTX something, or even the Quadro cards in them, they won't last more than probably about 2 to 3 hours running off the battery on full performance if you're really editing hard. So that I got to give it to you is this thing's great for me traveling as a professional for traveling and doing my work on it. So I think that's absolute fantastic on the battery life of this MacBook Pro. So even though it may not have the best performance, like the best, but seriously, being second best, and more important than that, battery life, I'm able to take this computer on the run and still do all my work and do other stuff on the battery. I think that's amazing. I think that's what's, like I said, this is a heavy thing. I think I weighted it around about 1.8 kilos or something like that. So this is not light. I think it's not light. So it's around about a 15-inch computer is about that sort of, I think it's 1.8 or is it 1.6. I wrote it in the other one. I can't remember now. So this is about the same heaviness as a 15-inch computer. So I'm used to 15-inch and 17-inch computers. So to me, it's not that bad, but it's heavy. That's one thing. I'm way heavier than I expected, but that's fine. It's a professional computer. I'm fine, and I've got all my ports. So battery, definitely the battery is amazing on this. I could definitely recommend. I really could recommend this new MacBook for a lot of professionals who are out on a run and have the ability to go to the Mac. Having that battery life and able to do everything and to hit those really good performance. I think this is a good price point, even though it's expensive, but compared to a lot of other computers I review who are in those higher price bracket range, this is a good deal for it. And I think the display. I haven't really dwelled too much on the display at the moment because I'm soon going to start testing the display because I've got that privacy screen and the blue light screen, which I'm going to do a review on. So I'm going to then really have a play with this thing. And again, speakers on this is great. Now I want to hear the mic quality because I've not done a video conference on this computer, so I'm going to watch the stream on this to see how the audio is coming, the microphone coming out of it on this MacBook. So yeah, definitely for that. And again, there's a few extra features you saw last week. So good computer. I could recommend it for the price. If you're up in about the $4,000, upper $3,000 to $4,000 range, this is a big contender for a lot of people if you can do it. So I think Apple finally back in the game. This Apple Mac Pro. I didn't like the Mac Pro in the last one because you might as well, if for those who are dealing between the M1 Mac Pro, MacBook Pro. I shouldn't say Mac Pro because that's the cheese grater. The MacBook Pro or the Mac Air for the M1. That's the first generation. I will always say go with the Mac Air because there's no point in paying extra for 2 extra ports, and they're not even that great ports anyway. Just buy an adapter for it. You're going to go ahead and adapt it anyway. But this Mac Air versus this is a winner. Now I know there's a lot of rumors about the new Mac Air for 2022 with maybe the rumored M2 chip. For those who are professionals, I still would recommend this new MacBook Pro compared to the new Mac Air. Now, the reason why is that is the ports. The ports is going to help you massively for it. I think they're going to just do a speed bump on the new MacBook Air. I don't expect it anymore unless you really like that thin form factor and don't mind carrying dongles. For me, this MacBook Air is still a killer over whatever it's going to bring out next because I think it's just a speed bump anyway. So that's my thoughts. I hope you find that in there. Now let's go. I've got a very, very big tag. Yep, Ultra 24. Wow, you go for it hard. Software at work, we have, sorry, I should actually move this side. I'm actually looking at you guys anyway. What's great, M1 decided to ditch my main Threadripper. Ditching the Threadripper for M1. Now, that is an interesting thing. Now, I have Threadripper Pro, and I'm trying to get the new Threadripper Pro from AMD. That's a hard one to do at the moment. I'm trying to get it because that's going to be a massive speed bump up as well. But I love to see how that goes against this M1 Ultra as well. But I think you're right. The quietness of this, the loudness of my Lenovo P620 is it does get loud when it gets the gear going. That's fans to cool it down, but still it does it very, very crazy well. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are of that, Dylan, to see when that arrives. G'day, Bag. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. There, mate. All right. For instance, what about engineering, architecture, and such apps? Now, this again, you're talking about the M1. It all depends on if your software allows and supports it. So I couldn't say how it goes. I'm not a person who actually works on the CAD work as well as things. It really depends. I think it works with a few of the ones like Autodesk and SolidWorks. I think they work, so they should be okay because they've moved over to that. So do check on those ones there. I could be quoting wrong in a way. So yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't tell you until you've actually find software support, and I haven't really dwelled into that at the moment. Yeah. No, that becomes that strong. Yeah, it is. The PC. All right. So what I can see is PCs are still here to stay because you can pack in more and upgrade stuff. These things here you can't upgrade. That's quite simple. These things are mostly things are now built on system board. So you buy it and that's it. You don't touch it. Whereas computers, the systems, even a lot of laptops, they're starting to lose a lot of their upgradability for their RAM, and also storage is very limited as well too. So on the higher end, I still see that's where the desktop computers are still going to reign over anyway. It's just because you can slot in more graphics cards as well as memory and also storage as well. So I think that that's where they're moving towards. And then for everything or everyday use, you got to go to the laptops anyway. That's what I'm thinking. The low end and the middle market will more than likely move to the laptops, And for the high-end processing and all the high-end computers, they will stay with desktop computers. And then, of course, then we got cloud computing in a way. Cloud computing is helping us a lot. I'm going to try and get some people about cloud computing on. That will be kind of good in a way. Well, I think hopefully that'll be get it, Yoshi. Thank you. Yosh. I can't even pronounce that. Yoshi Sakura. That's it. Hopefully I got that name right. Because M1's dedicated hardware chip, circuit on chip for video editing, that's why it's so good in doing the type of work. For everyone else, it's still better off with the decent. Yeah, well, also the optimizations. And I was actually listening to something else as well too. And this is to do with when they were releasing the Threadripper. It was the new Threadripper Pro 2nd gen in ways. And it was a very surprising. I think this was also from PC World. They were having a chat with that, and I was listening in as well too. Is that last year and the year before, surprisingly, the HPC and the high-end market has surprisingly moved over 60% of the sales have gone to AMD instead of Intel with the Xeons and all that stuff. And at the moment, of course, Apple aren't really in that sort of range there. And in truth, I don't see Apple going to hit that market. And I'm going to tell you a reason why for this is because Apple have completely, utterly given up on the server market. And if you don't have the server market working with these high-end computers, then it's just given up altogether. You just can't work it. And that's quite simple as that. When they stop having the Mac server, so they've got H server as well as even the OS, the Mac OS server. That was great. We can at least do something with it and get things connected and then manage them. But now you can't do that. So, and you got to rely on third software parties. Like I think we use Casper, which is now what is it called, Jamf. Even then, it's a bit flaky in a way. So I don't really like it. So for me, until Apple gets back into the server market and start looking at helping out, besides looking at just the consumer range, I don't see it hitting a very high percentage or high shareholding in the high-end market. Now, I do know there's a lot of people who do use the Mac Pro. That's the old cheese grater as well as the circular cylinder one for a lot of rendering. But in the end, they've got to offload it to another server, and it's very difficult. And a lot of IT people do not like it, and that's where it falls apart. So until they really fix that little joint, throughput, then we can then think of Apple being a serious contender in the high-end market. They do have the chips. These chips are doing very well, so I can say they can do so. But until they fix that problem, then we maybe can see then hopefully they give been a better competitor to Intel and AMD in that high-end market for that anyway. So yes, let's have a look. Sorry, I just ran off a rambling thing again before. Sorry. I brought a desktop tail due to PCL lanes and ports, and I see the average user and gamer great work. Yeah, I think the same thing. Those lanes to help out with the storage and graphics helps a lot more. There. It'd be nice to see if we get like a desktop version, not the iMacs, but what we can upgrade. I love when they were talking about the M1 Studio, where it has like modular. I don't know how that's modular when you can't do anything inside of it. When you can't actually open it up, as what I've been told. You can't even open it up. So it's interesting to see there. But yeah, we can't give them that for modular for that one there. I think modular is just plug in other external stuff. We don't really want that. All right, Chipper. G'day, Chipper. How are you doing, Chipper? That. Hello, glad to see you. I have a question. Will you review old stuff in the future during the neon gas disruption on the global market? And also, will Apple send you them? Apple doesn't send me anything. I don't think there's a channel in Australia that Apple even wants to send anything to. We're all not big enough for Apple to notice us. It's quite simple. So we buy our own stuff, and I've been using whatever that comes to me in my across my desk is when I've been reviewing them and seeing that. So this one I actually bought myself. This was actually more for testing on the channel for a lot of the docs and stuff like that. But it's also now going to be because of its performance, is going to be my computer away from home or from the office anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. So unfortunately, I will look at doing some of the older computers as they get in, like probably last year, because a lot of the reviewers have been looking at me because I want to get some numbers up, not numbers, but some numbers so I can compare the new 12th gen and also the Ryzen 6000, so compared to 11th gen and also the Ryzen 5000. So I'm still going to try and review some older ones. But if you're talking the really, really old ones, then I don't think I'll end up. I don't think I'll have much time on my hands because I'm doing other stuff besides the YouTube channel as well too. So, all right, hope that answers your question there. I have a Threadripper Pro 3945. Yeah, that's a nice one. I have to benchmark and get them both, and I'll get them. So I'm not top tier turner, but a fairly solid this chip, and I'll be replacing with the. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. What are you going to do with that Threadripper? Are you going to sell that Threadripper later on, or are you going to pretty much cluster or have it running in the second and background? So do pre-renders or whatever you want. I'm not sure what you're doing, but you can do something with that. It's a good piece of hardware still. I don't think it's going to be bad. You can sit in like in the storeroom while it's doing other stuff as well too. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say. Talk about this Apple anyway. So and it's good to see you got more people coming in anyway. Now, here's the other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is my rant side of things. And I was watching the news. And this is more to Australia because this is coming to Australia now. I'm not sure other countries how that's if you guys are getting affected by this oil gas issue that's price rising up. Now it is rising up here in Australia, but I was watching the news this morning, at dinner time, and what's come up. This was I'm going to try and show. I couldn't find it came from 7 News for us. I was trying to find that. I couldn't find that video again, so I'm gonna find a thing. Where is it? Where's share slides? I want share screen. Share screen. All right, window. This one here. All right. Let's see if I can add this to the stream. Okay, here we go. So they were talking about price rises. It is a little bit of a funny one. Okay, here we go. They talk about price rises, and of course, all the living costs will go up. Now, I don't eat baked beans, but they were talking about baked beans here, are rising about 50 cents. Now, here in Australia, this SPC is like, it's a very common brand here, and I think it was like $1.70 normally. They're gonna rise it to like about $1.20. I think it was, $1.20. That's 50 cents price rise. Now you may not think this sounds very much. It is quite a lot for one can, and they're blaming it on price. The price way. Let me bring that back out. Let me remove this. They're blaming these price rises and saying all these news about talking about moving the cost to the consumer all the time, moving the cost to the consumer, all the warehouses and all the manufacturing, moving the costs to us consumers who have to pay this extra price rise. Now, here's the funny thing when I was actually thinking about it, I was like, this is absolute BS, because 50 cents is, even though it doesn't sound much, but is quite a bit for one product, which is a very cheap product, can of baked beans. One product, 50 cents, okay, for one unit of that product. Now, of course, price rise of more diesel. Let's just talk about diesel because that's what most trucks run on, diesel. Now, here I run a diesel car myself, and I've seen it price probably about what I would say 50 to 70 cents per liter. Okay, now 50 to 70 cents, okay, is per liter. Now, this baked beans is gone up 50 cents. So that's pretty much the whole entire 1 liter has come across straight to the consumer. Now, of course, thinking about this is if you, and this is just one unit of that product, if you say, for example, a box, and a truck is not going to be moving one little product, it's going to move like thousands, hundreds or thousands of boxes of different products. So that's going to be added up. That's a lot of money that they're making profit on. Of course, say a truck maybe hits around about 400 or 500 liters for their tank of things. Okay, so of course, it is quite a lot of money in extra 50 cents. But I think overall, that's not amazing amount, because if you think about how much money they're going to make profit on all the products that they're going to price rise up, jack up for blaming on price wars for the oil, 50 cents, say a baked bean comes in a pack of 10 box in a pack. That's already $5 there. They're making extra of it. And of course, they're not going to ship a Mac truck is not going to ship one box. They're going to ship thousands. So imagine times that extra on top of that, how much money are they going to make on profit to all these warehouses and all these manufacturers to go things like that? That's just insane. So this is just baked beans. Imagine other products which have even higher price hike, and they're blaming it on oil pricing, which hasn't really rise crazy that much. It's coming back down, and they're going to probably more than likely keep these prices for a while. So that's just my rank. Just have a think about it. It's a bit of a trap thing for it anyway. But yeah, that's just my thought anyway. Supermasters slowly rising the price over 6 months, blaming supply. Yeah, blaming supply chains when it comes down to prices, but don't come down. Yeah, they're not going to come down, and government's not helping it neither, too. And g'day, Patrick. Thanks for joining me as well, too. I think it's absolute garbage that they're blaming all the. I can understand maybe 5, 10, 15%. We're not getting paid anymore. It's just jacked of these prices quite high up. Saying blaming all things. So yeah. Oh, g'day Ukraine. Chipper. Oh, you live in the UK. Hopefully you're doing well there, and you're not getting too much of the war. So glad to see that you've joined us, which means you're in a safe spot anyway. So where I live, there was a very high price rise, spikes in prices. Everything's going up, and also we pay $1.70 per liter. Well, I could understand why you're in your particular case that you've got price wars, because you've got a bit of a war going on, and so it's going to be even more difficult in getting all the goods, even just big. So price rising of things, but we don't have that here in Australia. So I know, again, I hope you're doing pretty safe, and then hearts do go out to Ukraine and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, it's just crazy what I'm thinking about. So someone put it out there in 2008 during G'day Zamaro. It's also welcome to the stream. In 2008, during GFC, the dollar was worth less, and the price of the barrel of fuel was higher than today. The price of fuel at the time was still $1.50. Yeah, it is still crazy, So these price rises just absolutely insane. It's like and also our money is getting deflationary down and down anyway. So I know if for those that don't know, I am in crypto, and that's what I'm hedging against. So I'm not actually, hopefully, getting hurt by the inflation in a way. So that's something I'm going to put later on. Mate. I'm not going to put it on this channel, but it's something I might deal with a little bit later on anyway. So yeah, suppliers and supermarkets will have their profit margin. Yeah, they're going to get more profit margin than anything else, and that's not because they've done anything. They've just jacked up the price and blaming it on price of things. So yeah, there's a long line of suppliers for oil price will go. Yeah, I can understand that there a little bit goes along down there, but still, 50 cents, that's a lot. I can understand maybe about 20%, 20 cents, probably about 30%, 30% of that 50 cent could go down, and that comes along. Each one takes a bit of profit, but that's a lot on a very small product. I don't eat baked beans, so that's a small product. So that's something I just was not very, didn't click very well, and I was like, oh, that's a bit funny. When in the case spaghetti, Russia has a closed the export of grains. Ukraine and Russia are the biggest grain exports. Yeah, it's sad what they're doing with the whole what's called sanctions and stuff like that. I know they're trying to not get into the war by putting all these sanctions on, which is kind of a good thing because we don't really want bigger wars. But hopefully this will cut out the finances and try and keep more pressure, especially the big bosses, the very wealthy oligarchs, to actually try and put pressure on the Russian government, because unfortunately a lot of the smaller, I wouldn't say smaller, the rest of the people of Russia is not going to be able to help in make their voices heard into the higher government. It's really going to have to be those big oligarchs to can put pressure onto the pretty much Putin way. So hopefully no war isn't ever good anyway. So, but in a sort of sense, at least we're not going to get hopefully we don't get a nuclear or biochemical war anyway. So hopefully that's something that I'm kind of glad that a lot of the countries have stepped back a little bit, just so we don't escalate to that point in a way. So that's just my thoughts anyway. So my opinion. This is becoming political. anyway, let's have a look at this. It's not simple economics though, and you can thank capitalism. Yeah, it's not nice, is it? Oh, geez. Well, I don't quite live in a NATO country, and we also have a zone of war. Some Ukrainians, refugees near me living, very nice people. Which actually city you're from? Chippa Valley? So Australia has one of the highest world's natural gas supply and grains and minerals. Yeah, I was actually talking to one of my parents who I see every Saturday. Now we're talking about we talk about finances and economical stuff a lot during the weekends, and he'll just mention to me that I should get him on my channel actually if you guys are interested in finance as well too. So what he believes in is that Australia is in a very, very good situation and also very good, very natural resource happy that we do a lot about exporting of raw materials that if anything happens and for the next decade or so, we're quite good in terms of a lot of economical resources for all of the other compared to a lot of other countries that we actually will become quite independent and hopefully independent and do very well for the next decade or so. So that's good to see. And again, we also export a lot of ores as well too, and we also have a lot of nuclear that we don't. Export. Well, what should we do? Export. We just don't dig it up as much. That's quite simple as that. But we are okay to survive with energy. And I am talking about a lot of people in energy. I might even get some people from the energy market to come in on my stream. I really should get some guesses in. I'm going to try and get some guesses. We'll have a bit of a chat, don't I? Because everything comes through energy. Even our computers run through energy. It's just an energy war, right? So again, I'm just garbling on. But sorry, I'm going to get through this one. Wait, I'm moving through here. Okay, producers get paid less, and retailers and support. Yeah, I agree with that. Producers do get paid less, like the farmers. And I used to help the agriculture people do research and stuff like that. And so they see a lot of agriculture. They get paid not that much, and they're not going to make that much crazy profit compared to the retail and the supply chain. The people who actually produce the farmers, they're the one hurting the most, and they're not benefiting anything of this price hike neither too. So it's kind of sad for it as well. That's why economic sustainable approach is so important and yet underrated. It also makes you economically less dependent, of course. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's all right. All right. Tribute from Vlad. I'm from Georgia. Hopefully that. Okay. Australia is well positioned to replace some of the Russian agriculture and natural exports. We could, but we also have to worry. The one thing we got to worry is that shipping. We're so far away from area. It takes a lot of time to ship that all our natural resources. But hey, we did it for coal. Why can't we do it for gas? We have a lot of gas, isn't it? So absolutely. So I'm just catching on. I've never heard this point, but do you have strong enough infrastructure logistics to export? No, we do a lot of exporting, but we may not have the infrastructure. Our infrastructure isn't as large enough. Is probably the best way to say. I've been through a couple of them as well too. I was going through Gladstone. And I was actually looking. Oh wow, look at that! But it's not nothing. It's big, but not crazy big. So that's just one little town, and I think they're trying to. I was listening to is they were trying to build a dam for is it Townsville or is it Cairns? I can't remember. And that's to try and help out. And they're looking at trying to help that with the Mount Isa, which is where a lot of the ore comes from as well too. So yeah, we're still trying to build that, and it takes many years for that to happen anyway. But yeah, we should be shifting high value manufacturing such as battery. And yeah, will be nice. But the problem is our labor is very expensive here in Australia. Our labor force, well, we're not getting paid more. That's one thing. Our labor force is expensive. That's why we don't do much manufacturing. Our labor force is extremely expensive. We have a huge amount of uranium. That's it. That's what I was trying to find, uranium. Because I was telling, I don't know the geographic people, school geographic was actually telling me about that. So yeah, that is you guys are trying. I agree. SX is the best position. Yeah, that's it. Actually, I want to see what happens with China, what they're going to do as well too. So I haven't heard too much news. I was watching I think it was some YouTube reactions, not reactions. They were interviewing people on the street in China, and again, they're not really for the war. They're pretty much against the war or very neutral to the war. But I like to still see what the government is in China is actually looking at trying to do, because that's really what matters in a way. Whatever we decide is we can't do as much. It's the government that does all the power and has all the says over everything in a way. We're very large exporters of gas. Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's have a look. Farmers are screwed. Yeah, the farms. Yeah, they are very screwed in a way. So, all right, let's have a look. Let me actually find a way. Say we can't independent, but we do. Oh, sorry. Say we can't independent without our own LPG. We'll stop using it in our cars. Actually, it's been a long time since I've heard an LPG car. I remember back about 15 years ago, my friend actually converted his Ute into an LPG car, and it was good because back then I think LPG was around about 40 cents here, of 30 to 40 cents. So that back then was good. Now it's not good. It's about $1 and something. I can't remember when I saw. And they're not very efficient. You have to pump a lot. I think you could do. I think he was doing around about 200 kilometers out of that whole tank in a way. So it wasn't very efficient. Should be efficient, more efficient now these days. Anyway, so I think LPG gas on cars isn't doing as good. I've just changed my hot water system, LPG hot water system, doing a lot more efficient. So again, that was 20 years. So I'm guessing cars would have been a little bit better, but still power. Um, I don't know if its power is going to be enough compared to like diesel and electric in a way. It's more moving towards electric cars anyway. So, which is another interesting story to talk about if you guys are interested to talk about it or hear my views anyway. Because I was listening to other people, which I'll bring in anyway, is that more electric cars are coming in. Here in Australia, we've got issues. And the reason why for issues is yes, people can buy electric cars and stuff like that, but our infrastructure on our power, especially for our substations, they aren't able to handle our the charging of the cars at night. So imagine like 2 or 3 cars, they suck in a lot of power at night. Luckily, we don't have many electric cars at the moment, and that's a big strain on our in our neighborhood. That power is not enough. They're just able to do it. So they need to upgrade our infrastructure still until if we're going to take in more electric cars for that at the moment. So that's one of the issues they've got to solve. And I think, again, I might get an energy guy to come in and talk about this because this is what they were talking about to me in a way. And that's one of the reasons why electric cars hasn't really been forced on or made more incentive by the governments because infrastructure is not ready yet. It's quite simple as that. So yeah, but no. Port handlings, deep water. Whoa, yeah. With automated trains. Imagine automated trains would be good. They can't go on strike. They can't actually they can't catch COVID neither. But unfortunately, we need those robotic arms, and they're expensive to get it all loaded. But I guess that if they could do that, that would be awesome if we can kind of get something like that. Is dollar? Yeah, it is. That's very much. I'm gonna skip here because of that. I've heard about its politics, mate. They believe me. I know that in terms of economics, Australia is much more developed that you can't even. Sorry, I couldn't understand that. Compared to here it goes. Compared to Georgiana. All right, so we got coming through. So I think we're doing pretty well. I'm just gonna move along if there's anything else in here. Australia's will be floods. Well, watch out for New South Wales. I think they've just got another warning for more wet weather for next week. And I'm hoping you guys don't get flash flooding and added more because they're talking about the soil being still quite soaked as well too. We're really dry here in Queensland. We're so hot at the moment, I'm dying from heat. So for those who are in the southern New South Wales and Victoria, I think Victoria's might be okay. But those in New South Wales, hopefully you don't get hit any floods by the wet weather. I think they're saying it might continue on to the even all the way to like May, which is quite late. So it's long wet season here. But issue is government policy, nothing else. Yeah, and also the waiting period. The waiting period of an electric car is a huge as well too. It's just like our computers are huge. So hopefully by the time we resolve the infrastructure, maybe we'll even get delivery of the cars. Because I know a few people, my ex-workmates, have actually ordered the Teslas, and they've got a huge long wait for the new cars and I don't know. I should actually ask them if they've actually deposited money or do they paid it up front or is demanded pay up front. Because imagine that sitting at Tesla or whatever car manufacturer, if you bought a new car, that's a lot of money and it's sitting there. You could actually invest that money, wait it to something else. Then when the car actually comes in, then you can do the full payment. I can't remember. I haven't bought a car. for many years now, and even then it's a second-hand car because I really don't need a new car. I'm happy. I'm going to run my car down to the ground because I just for stability. I don't see a need to buy a new car. I have the money to buy. I just don't see a need for it. It's not going to serve me any more extra purpose at the moment. I used to love racing cars, but not anymore. So I think at the moment I'm just keeping it down low. I was looking at Tesla, then the waiting period is like, nah, I'll just wait. And there's a lot of shortages. No point in me getting one now and add myself to the queue of the line anyway. So even though I am in tech, it's nice, but I don't think I need to that anyway for that. All right, what have we got? Floods are quite good for agricultural lands in the long term. We're used to flooding, but you don't want too much flood. When you start seeing livestock swimming away, that's not a good thing, Patrick. But overall, I do agree. They do need it because they've had such a long drought here in Australia anyway. So, but yeah, flooding is why we need to move to EVs. You know, if we can make those EVs into also boats, that'll be awesome. I think that would be pretty safe there. So, but if we ever get to that, then you know that thing is if it's flooded, don't cross it or don't tempt it. Well, if you had an EV car, you can then just float across it. That's what I'm saying. But unfortunately, EVs are very heavy because of the batteries anyway. So, what's the logic of that? Okay. Oh, sorry. Australia's one of the largest. We have a lot of petrol cars. We don't. But I did see, interesting enough, when I was doing the North Queensland trip, they said they had the longest southern hemisphere traveling recharge station, and it was actually quite nice to see that recharge station on along all the way there. So they said there was the longest route that could do it. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool there. I've got to say that Australia's trying, but we just can't do that much at the moment. It's still quite expensive as well too. So yeah, some of the floodings are yep. Sorry. Some of the flooding regions have been especially here. I know in New South Wales and in Queensland we had a lot as well too. Even though the metro area has been all right. You'll be doing giveaways again. I think I will. I think I might do that something. I've got a doc. I'm gonna come in. I think from QGene. I think after a review, I'm gonna do a giveaway for it because I don't need it, but I think it'll be good for you guys and also for QGene anyway. So be on the lookout for that one there. So I'll try and add more other stuff into the giveaways later on as well too. So no reduce climate to reduce flooding. No to reduce climate change will reduce flooding. Well, it does do something in that sort of system. I think at the moment, I know people are talking about the EVs about is it really helping with climate change or not? Now, and then they say about the EVs being using more greenhouse gases because of charging them, unless you got solar. But even solar, you got to charge it in the daytime to use that, not in the nighttime, because if nighttime, then you're pretty much using gas. You're pretty much using your not gas, fossil fuels to actually charge that things. So in the end, you're not really helping. But what EVs have got, and this is like, it's not going to happen now, but it will happen in the future. The idea of EVs is to get us the the use case and also the technology at the very end, so we can then slowly migrate our energy to more greener energy for later on when we get to that stage. But at the moment, we need to have use cases. Without use cases, there's no need to have the infrastructure. So the EVs are at the moment making us reason to make things all ready to go. They're not there at the moment to say, it's best climate change. It's not that, because truthfully, we need to get off that kind of system. What I'm really looking out for is hopefully hydrogen fusion EVs. Now that's kind of cool, but without the EV part, they can't really make a car work on hydrogen until we work out the EV. So it's just a stepping stone to the next section there. Now I think I was watching a long time ago a documentary about I think it was Toyota, it was a Honda making hydrogen EVs. So that's kind of cool, and that's what we really need, because there is an issue with going to EVs is at the moment, electric cars, is the fact that our recharge is quite long. Like I think maybe the closest, I think fastest is like 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes. But still, having our habits of putting gas in that only takes what, probably about anywhere between um, 3 to 8 minutes to do to fill up your gas. That's a habit we have, and that's very quick. And then bang, we're good to go for another, quite a lot of kilometers. Where EVs, we're going to sit there for like 30 minutes minimum to then get somewhere else a certain amount of case. So whereas the next technology, which hopefully maybe I'm hoping could be hydrogen fuel, then that's will keep our habit of as if we're pumping from the gas station. Only takes a few minutes, and we're good for a lot of kilometers. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So yeah, at the moment, the technology, we're going to get the technology. Then we've got to find the fuel source after that are more sustainable and environmentally friendly source after that. So they're coming in both ends, but we do need to have a use case for it. So that's my take on EVs, reason for EVs and the climate change things. We're not doing it right now, but hopefully in the end for our next generation. For that anyway. So you might want a life cycle of cost of EVs. They're not the solution, but everyone makes it out. Oh, sorry, yeah, that's one I want to talk about anyway. Yeah, the batteries are not very environment friendly. Again, it's about moving to the next section anyway. So for that, all right. So if you, yeah, again, if you can charge it in the daytime, then maybe you can offset it and then be okay for that. A month ago, I was reading an ebook, pocketbook. Love it. Do you have an e-reader too? If not, what reading options works for you? Paper, iPad, or iPhone? Okay, I can do this. I have this. So I used to love reading books, and I've got a lot of books. I think when I started the channel, you would have seen some books. Look on my very early videos. I had some books here. I used to love reading fantasy novels. I love reading books. When I'm writing things down, I'm still using pen and paper. I love pen and paper. I'm writing a lot of things in pen and paper all the time. I don't have an ebook. I don't have a Kindle. I used to use iPad. It was iPad Mini was what I used to use. Then I moved, but that was when my iPhones was quite small. Now I've got one of these phones, which is a bit quite large. I'll get the largest one I can get anyway. And if I do read, it's just using through the phone itself. But still, I prefer reading on my phone or the iPad Mini. I think a big iPad's too large to hold anyway. The reason why I like reading on these is the fact that because I always invert my my phone color for reading to night mode, so I have the black background and the white text. And I think if I could do it to the computer, I would do it to the computer, but it doesn't really do it. It only does dark mode, but it doesn't do the complete invert. And I like that, especially at night times when I normally read. So it's easy for my eyes. So I do prefer that. I do have like another tablet, which is a Samsung tablet as well too, but I don't really read for it. I just find this sort of my mobile phone is a very nice size for me to read. For that, hope that answers your questions there. For that. So there's 80% renewable. I know that SA has got a lot of wind power. I remember my father was telling me how much wind power they're creating down there. I don't know much about it, but it's energy is massive energy game in there. Now I wanted to, I should really, I'm going to really ask them if they want to come join my channel, which is about a solar company. It's called Rex, and they'll be interested to introduce to you guys what this company does. And they're about renewable resources as well too, and how to meter your electricity. And they're trying to go global as well too. So I'll try and ask if they want to come join my channel for a quick chat. It will more than likely be a daytime on Australian time because that's a company. Unless one of the CEOs or CEOs wants to come in on the night time and have a chat with you guys anyway. But I think that would be kind of cool. Now I've got a lot of coming through. I'm going to kind of skip some of these things here through unless I find something. Nuclear fusion, yeah, that would be awesome. But dangerous as hell. Well, it could be good, but it could be also dangerous as hell anyway. Let me actually read this one here. I think for being green, we should build taller, more compact, narrow streets, use more bicycle, plant trees, build more train lines for people and transport. Yeah, that would be good if we can get like better transporting system. But this happens very good on a very small localized area like in Europe. I think is very good. Here in Australia, we're huge in land size, and I think a lot of other big countries, and we're not very populated for our huge land size. So it's an issue for us for our even for our infrastructure plus our public transport system. Like even our train systems, we don't have the best train system in the world, and that's because of per capita, we don't have very much workmanship. Same with New Zealand, same idea anyway. So we've got a big land area, but very small workforce and small populated area. And to join it all, it's going to take a long time. But ideally, that'll be good if we can get into the public transport, and then we can just power up public transport and stuff like that. But hey, if we can get teleportations, that would be even better. One day, or maybe in the next generation or two. That would be kind of cool. I think I'll talk about that. Works in Asia. Yeah, I think works in. Yeah, I think exactly what I'm thinking in a way. I see this happen because I used to travel a lot. I see that along as it works good, but Australia has the issue. It's just too big. It's better. Inefficient housing in suburbs with 2 to 3 cars. Yeah, I have about 3 cars in my house as well too, and because we've got to drive so far, we don't really want to walk or bike, and our cycling is not great here. We have a lot of cycling issues. Same with motorbikes as well. We're not very conscious of that. We have more of a car society here in Australia as well too. So it's sad, but it's just something we've got to try and slowly. I know we're getting more cycling and stuff like that, but yeah. I think yeah, I'll skip through that. And I think is the answer. Okay, let me have a look. Last one here. Requires density. Yeah, we can't do that in as fast spaces. Exactly. You just can't do that here in Australia anyway. It'd be a nice idea. I think in Brisbane we're trying to build an underground rail system because I think they're trying to get that ready for. Well, hopefully it's been in the works for a while. Hopefully, they'll get it ready by the time the Olympics comes to in Brisbane anyway. But yeah, it'll be good. I think the underground train system will definitely work very well, but it's hard. It is hard. And it only connects low populated areas. It won't be able to do all the other rest of the areas. And also we have a lot of like waiting times for our buses. Oh God. And the buses compete with cars, and this just doesn't work. It's just late. So unfortunately, it doesn't help. It doesn't. Unfortunately, it worked great in Asia when I was in Asia as well too. I haven't been to Europe, so it'd be nice. It's one place I like to go. But yeah. Anyway, is there any questions for me? If not, I'm going to call it now. I actually spent a lot longer than I expected. Wow, I've nearly done an hour on this thing, and we really went off topic. That's great. Sorry. I think that's great. We had a bit of a discussion and had a little bit of fun chat with you guys, and that's what the stream is really for. It's just to have it talk to you guys as well too. What's happening around my world? Forgot about that. Not much. No. I've got to review all these Dell products, which I actually little small speakerphones. I haven't done that. I'm going to do the thing. I'm pretty much got to do some catch up before the laptops arrive in a way. And hopefully you'll see some new merch. Well, not merch. It's merch on me. Hopefully it seems up. Hopefully they'll arrive sometime soon anyway. So we're gonna get the channel get going. Let's have a look. Have we got anything more? Well, good. We're just gonna. Anyway, so I like to say thank you for joining me, and also for your extra support for you guys. Anyway, it's been great, and it's been great to hear you guys have a chat and be. It's quite an interesting. We went through sustainability, energy, my rant on pricing, and also petrol pricing, and we also got to know the Mac, right? But yes, anyway, thank you very much for joining, and I hope you guys catch me on the next video. And as always, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.